Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I am Stugar, joined along with Zentor and Vicious Jeff today. He decided to join us. It'll be a really fun episode. But before we get into everything, we got our sponsor here, the 46th Fleet. The 46th Fleet is the youngest of the Liberty Navy's primary formations. Initially a mere strike force formed to serve as a proving ground for cadets fresh out of West Point, a recent naval restructuring has seen the 46 ascend to status of a full numbered fleet. Despite incurring much critique during its early days due to its use of controversial tactics, the 46th Fleet has since earned its rightful place among its more veteran counterparts. The 46th Fleet units can frequently be seen patrolling Liberty's shipping lanes, safeguarding her borders, and fending off attacks for both foreign and domestic. So, if you want a nice Navy fleet to join the 46 out of Liberty. Really fun group to fly around with. Zentor, we have somebody in the studio, ironically, that is the Admiral of the 46th.
Yeah, joined with us today, we have a Libertonian obsessionist, the DoctorXI, if that's the correct way to pronounce that.
Yes. It's Roman numerals, so 11
Okay.
technically.
Oh, Doctor 11. Is that literally, by the way, have to do with Doctor Who? I think I've always thought of it as like Dr. Xi or something like that, but then I realized the other day that you have an avatar of the TARDIS, and I was like, wait, is that the 11th Doctor?
Yeah.
Oh my god. So that's Matt Smith, right?
Yeah, that's right.
David Tennant was better, sorry.
You told me about that, Zentor, and I was like, yeah, because I've been saying Dr. She this whole time, like XI, She, but no, he's Dr. 11.
The 11th Doctor. Well, welcome to the podcast. We're happy to have you. We know that you're very focused in Liberty, so we would like to go ahead and give you the floor. Tell us about how you came to Freelancer and eventually what led you to Discovery.
Ironically, I actually picked up a disc copy of Freelancer, sort of just in passing, happened to be in town in my younger years, nipped into a game shop and seen it, and I thought, oh, this looks fun. Of course, back then, running I'll sort of describe it as a family PC, so obviously not a gaming rig. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're close to our generation then, if you actually got a CD-ROM of the game.
Yeah. So yeah, first time playing it, it was probably within a couple of months of release. Back in 03, and yeah, just started playing it. Then sort of had my brother also got into it as well. Sort of playing in multiplayer after several sort of run throughs, and yeah, just having fun. And then of course Discovery came along much later. So I think I first joined Discovery, it was probably, I want to say 2012 or 2013. I think it was 4.86 at the time. It was around for...
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've just been sort of in and out of Discovery maybe 3 times, sort of to date. But yeah, as far as other communities or servers, surprisingly not. I wanted to dabble in the Crossfire, just for the sort of campaign and story side of that, but still haven't got around to doing that just yet. But that's still on my bucket list for Freelancer.
How'd you find Discovery?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I mean, I think it's going to be very subjective to your sort of experiences, sort of who you know, who you play with. I think I've been quite lucky in sort of who I've befriended on the server. So I can't really say I've ever hated playing Discovery, and I don't think I ever will, because Freelancer, probably much like many other people in the community, kind of holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I think that his question was directed though, like, how did you discover Discovery?
I was about to say, I love the quote, England and America, 2 great nations separated by a common language. I love it. It was good. It's good information. But yeah, definitely more interested, how did you discover Discovery, or was it like a random Google search, or did someone tell you?
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. I think I want to say it was from like a YouTube video. I think I was sort of looking at vanilla PvP fights at the time, and I can't remember whose video it was, but yeah, I definitely would have happened across a Discovery video, and I thought, wow, that looks like the best thing since sliced bread, and yeah, managed to sort of find the forums and whatnot, and just, yeah, get it downloaded, and it's
That's
away from
awesome.
there, really. But,
Once you've since you've been a part of like the multiplayer community, like what aspect of the game is most interesting to you? Are you more like cap fighter, PvPer, trade, economic stuff? Like what's your cup of tea?
um, I like to sort of be diverse and experience all of it. I think primarily in terms of maybe what I would consider myself to be good at would probably be the capital side of things. Um, I'm not bad in a snub, and over the years there's been various mechanics and whatnot added that either make it sort of harder or a bit easier, and of course the PvP learning curve both in snubs and capitals. There's always someone better than you, I think. But yeah,
Yeah,
What's your name
it's
is Wesker.
it's an ever evolving
So that's really cool.
landscape.
So I want to ask. Go ahead, Zentor.
I was going to say areas of lore. I know that you're currently, and as long as I've known of you, you've been Liberty focused. Have there been other areas of Discovery that you've participated in, like faction wise, or other houses, or anything like that?
My initial faction on returning this time, so I think I came back in, it would have been, I think, the year before sort of COVID and lockdown. So was that 2019, give or take, something like that?
Yeah, right around then. That was about the time when I was coming back too.
Yeah, my sort of first official faction or even faction right out of the gate was Universal Shipping, the official faction at the time. Yeah, I think after or before that even, sorry, and other times I've been playing. Yeah, I've sort of spread my wings a little bit through I think 4.86. You had the Kasari Exiles.
Sounds about right.
Um,
Yeah.
Can't remember quite what the faction was named, but yeah, it's a bit of everything really. Bounty hunters. Um, Generally on the lawful side of things, I've never really been a
Criminal.
not necessarily a big advocate of the the sort of unlawful factions. Not for any particular reason. It's just I think my particular, I'll say, capabilities in roleplay sort of lean towards a lawful character. So typically navy, police, and bounty hunters, and anything sort of trade related or trading related.
So
Interesting.
real quick, give us your best quote from the Freelancer when you're doing a mission and they're saying you mess with the Viper, you get the fangs. Give us your best quote of that.
Oh God.
Pretend to be a pirate.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's all good.
Come on, Jeff. Jeff, you're up. Go.
Jeff, you're up. Go for it.
What? That's just that line?
You have
Yes.
to say the line in your best pirate voice.
You mess with the Viper, you get the fangs.
Oh,
I'm scared, man.
Chills.
I don't care if that's a hacker or a rogue. I'm gonna stay away from him.
Gotta watch
I
those
mean,
That was
Canucks,
really
man.
good.
Yeah.
I love it when you're doing the mission and they're saying it and you kill them in the middle of saying it. So it's like you mess with the Viper, you get the, and then they start
They
screaming
start
to death.
screaming.
So,
Man.
Doc, I want to ask
Nerd.
you. So you joined back in 2013, 2014. You mentioned when you came back 2019. So you didn't play the whole time. When did you take your time off from Discovery?
So if I remember rightly, so it was 2013 to about the tail end of 2014. Then I'd left, took a couple of years off, then came back in 2017 up until 2018, played for like another year. And then, yeah, more recently 2019 and sort of stayed the course, as it were, up until today.
Nice. So you've been around for quite a bit of Discovery's history.
Yeah.
And you role play a lot. I notice a lot of your interaction when you're server side is a lot of role play. What kind of role play do you like to interact with?
Uh, well, yeah, generally anything sort of lawful. I definitely prefer the sort of military-esque roleplay side of things. Just find like I think responding to it, as in to see it and react to it. I just generally find that more comfortable for myself. Like
Gotcha.
even just playing like a civilian character, I have tendencies to kind of occasionally slip in a sort of phrase or sentence that might lean more towards maybe being like a Navy character or police or something like that.
Gotcha. I do remember, I think you were in LPI with me for that little bit with what's his name? Another Canadian guy.
Uh,
You remember that time? I think we flew together a couple of times. I don't know if you remember that. It was
yeah, we did.
LPI.
Yeah. It was like
Uh,
I can't remember their names. I feel really awful.
yeah, I gotta look through, but yeah, that was kind of at the end. It's a shame LPI isn't around as much anymore, especially with the police siren thing. Get to peel off and go chase down the bad guys. That was a lot of fun.
Well, there's been a recent sort of resurrection with that. There is a sort of up and coming police faction, which I hope they go for officialdom. I'm sure they probably will. But you know how it goes on Discovery is quite a sort of time investment. But yeah,
That
hopeful.
and LSF. I've noticed there's a little handful of 3 or 4 LSF players that are getting together, flying around. I don't know if they're role playing LSF. I see them doing a lot of combat, so I don't know if it's PvPers looking for a new ID to fly around with or what that is. But it is pretty cool seeing the kind of the resurgence of lawfuls returning to Liberty, and Liberty kind of, because when I came back in 2019 around that time, kind of pre-COVID, it seemed like every day there was something big happening in New York, and a couple times that flying around on my Universal ship, and I would just squeak through a trade ring when a rogue or someone would be chasing me down, trying to get me.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those days as well. It was pretty much any time say just patrolling around New York, you'd have the Xenos, the rogues,
Outcasts, yeah.
outcasts.
Yep, big outcast fleet, nomads.
Very
Fucking
much.
Ransors and docking from Rochester.
Yeah,
Yeah, still
absolutely.
occasionally happens, but
The one thing that I miss, and I guess this is my only real feedback for 46, is so when I came back, I joined the LN Liberty Navy first, and there were a few times they did some things where they kind of like locked down New York. So there would be like cruisers or gunboats or like a battleship parked on top of a trade ring, and everybody has to stop for a cargo scan and stuff. I do miss kind of some of that, like we're cracking down on smuggling and we've locked everything down. Everyone has to stop and get scanned, that
Nice.
kind of thing.
So,
But
Like this hour.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and it could have been just a log time, really, but but yeah, it was cool. Being a part of that a couple times, flying around on my snub, and having to run over to this jump gate or that jump gate because someone snuck through, chase them down and all that fun stuff. So,
yeah,
is there
we
any
had
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say we'd done that a few times, sort of in our earlier years. Just looking to kind of establish ourselves and try and RP with different people, obviously at different sort of points or entry points in this case to a particular system. And yeah, I think generally it's sort of well received, and yeah, it's all good fun.
That's awesome.
So
Zentori, got some questions for him.
I do. So 46th, they are one of the newer Liberty factions, but they've been around for several years now. Were you one of the founding members of 46th?
No, I was not. That was can't remember his name because I've never actually met him to this day. 2
Renegade?
seconds. Not even Renegade. It was someone else.
Oh, really? I actually don't even know who founded 46. I just knew that they were like one of the new and upcoming Liberty factions when I first came to Discovery, I believe, and they've quickly become like one of the most active ones for a long, long time. There was LN and Fifth, and then 46, and then Lemons, the first Armada. But have you guys tried to kind of make yourself a little bit more niche or different than the other Navy factions, or like what really what do you think like really differentiates you guys from the previous Navy factions there?
Yeah, I mean that's a really sort of solid question. I think, of course, with Disco being a role play environment, in terms of the RP aspect, it's sort of difficult to sort of do so. So I think what we've, or certainly what I've tried to do, and of course all the members of the 46 have been brilliant in helping with that, is just to sort of act as you would, and if you had such an encounter in space or out in the sort of open seas, because obviously we're not flying around in ships these days, but just to provide a really solid militaristic and good naval RP, which I think we do quite well. But as for sort of how we differentiate ourselves, from the likes of the first fleet, so LN, and the fifth, that's a good question. I suppose fundamentally we're all, of course, the same, because again we're restricted by our ID line. So yeah, I think the main point, not to of course say that the first fleet or fifth are anything but good or exceptional, is kind of just be the go-to, like the first kind of responders, if you will, to events. Just try and be as active as we can. We did used to do a lot of patrols, actually, which would be quite fun. We get sort of 5-6 of us logged, generally all on sort of snubs, and just literally patrol every system, and we'd kind of scout up and down to try and interact with people. And for the sake of, say, miners in Pennsylvania, we'd park sort of 2 snubs alongside them, just to make sure that they felt safe in role play, and felt like the Navy was actually there to protect them. So we still do it from time to time, or just try and get a few of us together and log, get with indies on capitals, and we'll go run sort of PvE events. So yeah, hope that.
There you go. So
I do like that you said that, because I remember back with my LN days, we would a couple times, like it would even get pinged in the Discord, say, "Hey, everyone, we're hanging out in Pennsylvania helping newbies," and that's not only is that a show of force to new people coming into the community that this is the best Navy fleet in the game, but also what a way to help the newbies out. And I used to love doing that too, up until like a LR or outcasts or an indie shows up and tries to, they take me out and then kind of ruins it. But no, I do like that. That you say 46 does that, and yeah, for sure. If I ever see pings about going to Pennsylvania helping out with new players, I'll be all over that. If I could mention again, just from what I've seen from all the different fleets, and whether it's my time in LN or time in 46, is I feel like the fifth is more PvP focused. So if you're wanting to primarily PvP, you'd want to go to the fifth. LN, I feel like the 46 replaced the LN as far as overall encompassing
Not primary
major.
fleet. Yeah.
Yeah, like the fleet. LN, I feel, just failed to adapt to whatever, whether it's a new players coming in, the new environment in the community to make them uh, look good or enticing to join. And in the first, they're I don't even know if they're active. I see them popping in here and there once in a while, and of course, Lemon. Yeah, he's got some interesting ideas, and
Yeah, so that was definitely a lemon project, and I think it lost a lot of their wind in their sales when he became less active. But yeah, it's kind of similar to my perception. I've seen in my time that 46 has usually been like the go-to point of contact as far as RP activity in lawful liberty. Fifth has always kind of been seen by me, at least, as like the PvP counter loggers that would just log for fights and stuff. Whereas LN, I mean, in most of my time has just kind of been, a corpse. But like not shitting on them, they just not been super active,
tell us how
R-
you really feel.
RP wise or anything. No, I mean, if you really want to know, I mean, Liberty has never been my center of focus. Of course, I am a player who likes to go where it is not the most
You broke up a little bit
common.
there, Centaur.
That's okay. I'm not a Liberty player for the most part. I've never been a Liberty player. Yeah, but 46 does seem like it's always been the go-to RP for the past couple of years, at least, as far as Liberty lawful.
Absolutely.
Because we'd got sort of officialdom. I want to say it was 2021 because I'd been in the fleet sort of 2 years by that point, and yeah, I think we were just a bit sort of lucky. Sorry, bear with me. We'd obviously we were at that stage, obviously, trying to achieve officialdom. So obviously, we were active. People were seeing us. People were, we were lucky with regards to sort of recruitment, and even sort of today, many years later, we're still, fairly frequently getting new applicants, which of course is amazing. So I think, yeah, the just having active leadership and members, of course, is crucial to kind of maintaining that kind of steam and focus. And I think the aforementioned, with Fifth and LN, not so much, which is sort of benefited us in a way, because yeah, we would obviously then get applicants from people who were maybe tossing and turning as to which of the three to join. So it was sort of difficult time for the three fleets at that time, and then of course Lemon's first armada arose, and that became hugely popular, which is again amazing for Liberty. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Just got a bit lucky, I suppose, and yeah, really grateful to, of course, everyone that's dedicated their time to joining with us, of course, and having fun.
You mentioned something, and I wanted to hit on it a little bit. And I see this too because I joined 46 a couple months back. I did a character change, so one character transferred out, another one apply it in. So I've been with the fleet for a couple months. The one thing that I could say 46 does a really good job. Leadership is visible. That is not the case with a lot of factions, and a lot of those factions tend to lose officialdom or they just hang on because of time. So that's a big kudos to 46, is whether it's you or Tanner, other leaders that are, sub leaders aside from one IC, two IC. Leadership's always there. I've always felt that if I had a question or something came up, I got a response pretty quick. So 46 leadership is visible. That's really awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's one of those things you need to, of course, sort of be there to be the sort of guiding hand, as it were. Otherwise, it could be a case of just not sort of being there, and you get people sort of losing interest quickly. So yeah, sort of being active is always beneficial to any faction, be it official, unofficial. You need, if depending on obviously how your sort of command kind of echelon is structured. If it is a case of you've just got a single sort of leader, as it were, or if you've got sort of one IC, two IC sub leaders from there, it's always beneficial to have active ones, and that goes a long way in Discovery.
definitely. So another thing I'd like to ask you about is your time on. I think that I know you were an admin. Were you a mod as well?
Started off as a moderator for, can't remember how long. I think it was probably about 9-10 months.
Okay.
And then kind of moved into an admin role from there.
Gotcha. So tell us about, coming to staff and your time there, and I know that you're not part of staff anymore. What made that change, and where you are now.
A lot of it sort of early doors is sort of learning the processes, sort of learning your responsibilities, your sort of remit, as you will. That it takes a fair while to kind of settle into it, and you're just basically there to be another sort of voice on problems, trying to kind of come up with and implement resolutions, or just generally taking part in discussions at that level.
Gotcha. And you were an admin for a time. When did you stop being admin? Because you haven't been on staff since I've returned. So when did that happen?
I think about a year and a half ago. So I've gone back twice. So I was a moderator, became an admin, left, and then after about 6 months or so, I went back to do it again. But a lot of it just sort of time constraints.
Yeah.
Working
It is.
60 hours on top of obviously trying to run and do things with my own faction, of course. In
Right.
addition to sort of kind of being the go-to guy in the Liberty government, which is still currently the case, which is fine, as sort of part and parcel. But yeah, it was just not really being able to sort of commit the time. Sort of working a 12-hour day, coming home, typically spends a couple of hours doing kind of admin duties, sometimes even longer, depending on the workload, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't really consider those types of time commitments, and your obligation towards wanting to fulfill those roles in a good way, and still be able to keep up with the discussions that are going on. So
I'm
that's
just now learning that. It's
yeah.
it's like, oh, and then on top of that, if you have any hobbies that are outside of Discovery, good luck
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
if you like miss a beat, like you'll be at work someday, and then one of the threads that you try to keep up with just blows up, and you're like, "Oh my God, it's going to take me like half
Yeah.
a year to figure out what they're talking about."
Yeah.
uh, Discord is great for communication, but it's not great necessarily for like keeping up with topics.
Yeah, it's
And that is good that
it can be
were
difficult.
able to like distinguish that you need to make different plans. So.
Yeah, that's it. It's sort of just coming to the realization that, in essence, you're kind of becoming driftwood and sort of just taking that responsibility to admit it and kind of stepping aside and, of course, making space for someone else to move up in your place.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
just seems like the decent thing to do, really.
So you mentioned about. Oh, go ahead.
Go on.
Yeah.
You go.
You mentioned about Liberty Government. So of course, say what you can. I know the governments are kind of secretive and whatnot. But how active is the Liberty Government? Is it pretty much just ran by you, or is it ran by other people?
Um, well, obviously, there's a collaboration sort of between the one IC and two ICs of official factions. So at the moment, there's of course the 46th, the First Fleet, so LN, Ajira are in there. There was, AWES, so All World Enterprises and Security.
Oh, that faction sucked.
Yeah, that's a terrible faction. Don't.
Settle.
Jeff is
Good
going
on
to
you,
become
Davey,
vicious.
So yeah, if there's normally a sort of process to follow. If someone's wanting to build a pub, they'll post for a license request. That'll
Most
get
of the time.
pinged into most of the time. They'll make a post. We'll of course raise a vote. Which is normally it's just taken on sort of merit. System, location, purpose. For the most part, we're not too. We certainly don't try to be sticklers about it. If someone wants to build a pub, we'll accommodate that sort of want, because just to outside sort of touch from it, obviously from the player's point of view, that is something they're wanting to delve into as part of their discovery experience.
Mhm.
So yeah, we generally try and, of course, avoid blocking them at that level. And
Yeah, gotta
it might be
be.
a case of we might deny a request and they'll build one anyway. And then obviously that then gets broached down in a role play environment through sort of comms and whatnot. So yeah,
Then you have to send in the big guns.
that is it. Which we've not had to do up until lately.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
that was fun. That was my first time. I went head to head with a hegemon in a dreadnought,
I
and
heard that those are your nightmares.
I was losing. I was like, "How the hell?" I thought it was going to be a simple straight shoot, get them down quick, but nope, that did not
No,
happen.
they have infinite HP. Actually, I definitely want to ask them about that decision. Like, I'm very curious as to the process that went into deciding that a hegemon needs to be like as much HP as a station.
It was ridiculous. So I think you are the first guest that we've had on the show that has a strong presence in a government. So I've always I was always intrigued by the idea of having an actual government for each of the houses, and kind of what role that fills with not only fulfilling requests for POBs, or if someone wants to have equipment or commodities, have waivers for those, and those process go through government. But what also with the story. always been curious of how that could work with story. So, as far as Liberty Government's role or any other government's role, would you like the role of the government to kind of get expanded a little bit on so that it's more involved with story, or you guys can come up with story developments for Liberty as a whole that could then be whether it's an official event or something that's a build up for an actual lore event? Have you thought about that, or do you have any considerations for that?
I mean, I think as a concept, I think it's potentially a good idea. I think the difficulty comes, you know, with every house thinking they're the best thing since sliced bread. So I think previously that there has been, that sort of level, maybe not at the government level, because that's more kind of like as a sort of paperwork exercise, if anything. But I think previously there's been times where official factions have been consulted over sort of story elements to come up with like you say, different story aspects for their respective houses. And I think the that's what I'm looking for.
So I was
That's
thinking
where the
that.
difficulties were sort of found, in essence, because no one wants to be on the losing side, of course.
Right.
Which is fair enough, of course. But it's just one of those things. So I think generally, on paper, it's a good idea. I think the implementation of it is the hard part, because people would need to concede certain points or weaknesses.
Yeah.
So I think the way it's currently handled is kind of the way forward. If you ultimately have that choice removed or not even consulted, then you just make do with the dice rolls, as it were.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like is kind of getting Discovery's pulling away from, is these players that want to win at all costs. I've always kind of viewed uh, as like a broad role play sense that almost like we're in a WWE match, and the winner's already been decided, loser's already been decided. We just have to play the role. I think a lot of times people miss out on that. Now, the day to day, of course, with people just running into each other, of course, you're trying to win because you're trying to accomplish your own personal goals, whether it's you're trading and you're trying to get away from the pirate, or you're the pirate and you're trying to make money by pirating the trader. So, you're trying to kind of fulfill your own personal obligations. But yeah, there's definitely been times where people are talking story as a broad sense or as a global sense, and there's a clear agenda, or there's clear favoritism, and then then you think, well, you can't have Kusari, for example, taking over all of Sirius. That's not going to be fun for everyone, so they've got to get a little negative against them, and same with Liberty, Bretonia, Rhineland. So yeah, so you're probably right. It probably won't really work out, especially now we don't really have the people wanting to lean in and do that as much. But that'd be a really cool idea, is if you got like Liberty government, everyone kind of fills a role and they respond to comms as government officials, and yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I remember my first time in Liberty government. It was a mess.
Yeah, certainly an experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Go ahead, Zentor.
I was going to say the only government that I have participated in was Bretonia for a short time, but I imagine that Liberty, being the most populous faction-wise, has got to be a pretty loud quorum of voices trying to make those decisions. My experience earlier on in Discovery was
Yeah, you broke up pretty bad there, Zentor.
I thought that was just a dramatic pause.
I just lost him. I didn't
Oh,
mess
no.
him. This
Like
is this will for sure be one of those situations where we're not really recording anymore. It's gonna get edited out. I'm gonna message him real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, Zentor.
Yeah, I'm seeing your messages come through.
Yeah, we lost you. You start talking like after your first sentence, we lost you completely.
Jeez, I don't know what's going on. It must be something local. I shut down everything like connection wise to try and stop that.
So yeah, I was telling him, I was like, this is one of those examples. We usually don't have to do this, but this is where the recording basically stops, and we will be editing this.
Yeah. Well, I guess you guys can just continue on. I'll pop in where I can.
Sounds good. All right. So yeah, we were talking about Liberty Government for a little bit. Yeah. So all your time flying around Discovery. So you spent time on the lawful side, whether it's LPI, Navy, or even on the corporate side, USI. Is there any place in Sirius that you're interested in, or you're like, I wonder what it'd be to fly over there, or any role that you thought about, giving it a try just to see what it's like?
Um, I'd probably start delving into the unlawful side, which I've started doing recently. Sort of mainly Hessians at the moment, and then Omegas primarily, and Rhineland and whatnot. So yeah, it's in terms of like lawfuls, I've played basically a either military or navy or police character in all of the houses, with exception to Gallia. So yeah, maybe try and pick up a character there and come up with something interesting.
So
It's
as an AFK trader, what pirates do you fly as?
just Hessians,
Okay.
but that's normally reserved for sort of big fleet engagements with the Corsairs, DTR, and anyone else we might happen across.
I imagine it's going
Gotcha.
to be a pretty busy area of the map there once the next patch comes out and they redo the Omegas.
Yeah, gonna be probably gonna be very crazy for sure.
I do like so. I had a pirate ship I flew around with for a while, and some people didn't catch on to what I was doing, but I was doing reverse pirating. So I'd bust a trade lane and wait for someone to pop through, and I'll be sitting there and be like, "Hey, I'll give you." I forgot what it was back then because it was before the division, but basically today's equivalent. I'll give you 20,000 credits. If don't fly here again. And sometimes they get it. They're like, "Oh, okay, sure, give me the money," and I'll give them the credits, and they're like, "Don't fly here ever again." Just to be kind of silly. But yeah, have you thought about any like niche pirate things to do as you're flying around Red Haitian or anywhere else?
Um, sort of not kidnapping, but there was one encounter I've had on a trade run from uh, Cortez to Delta, I think, so pre 5.0. Happened across a group of three. I think they were Rogue ID IFF, but not the official faction. And they probably gave me or provided, sorry, the best pirate encounter I've ever had. Sort of in essence holding me hostage. And I sort of said to them, I've not got the immediate money up front to sort of pay the demand, which normally at that point I was sort of expecting just to get blown up and be done with it. but they made it really interesting. They said, oh, get on the comms to the head office, because I was on a Universal ship, and get your boss to wire over the money, which I had done, and I'd also messaged some Navy characters that were online at the time as well. And they came over. Ended up being a sort of fight between those guys. And instead of just blowing me up because I'd very clearly just reported them to the authorities, as it were, they just said, right, get out of here. We're about to be busy, sort of thing. And I think that was the best sort of unlawful interaction I've had. So I certainly maybe something to that sort of line of things. As far as role play, I know normally a lot of sort of traders will complain, about just getting the classic 50k or die or 5 million die sort of pre-econ rework. But
I love pirates that, and not only do they have a niche or they're very role play friendly, but also they think on their feet, and so they be able to do something like that. That's really awesome. So anyone listening, if you were that pirate, kudos to you.
Yeah, that was probably the best experience I've ever had on a sort of trader, and with it being a pirate encounter. And just to sort of expand on that, I do think it's difficult. 9 times out of 10, I'm sure pirates are flying around, and they're sort of put into that position because obviously the traders just want to sort of carry on their routes. So it's if you are a trader, try and kind of give back a bit more than you normally would, I suppose, and then just got to keep rolling with the punches and be creative, and I'm sure your pirating experiences will be sort of just as good.
I found as a trader for a while there, I've seen a few different players come and go there, especially in the All Worlds faction. And this one guy came through, and he did something that I'd seen a few other players do. He started having crew on his ship, and I don't know if it was the same rogues, but he came across some in Texas, and they pulled him aside, and they started threatening his crew. So he had to choose which one was gonna die right there on the spot.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, it was so crazy. And he showed me the logs of it later, and he's like, "Oh, how can I choose? Everybody take a stick." He's like, "Oh my god." It was a pretty dark RP going on there. But
That's amazing.
yeah, but since then, and also watching OS&C, the way that they run things, I've always tried to have, if I can help it, I'm not running exact 5k amounts, to have RP cargo on board, like have some gin or have a captain or a civilian pilot, just something that the pirate can look at if you get caught, and he's got something to work with, or you can give him something other than just money. At least it's a little bit of, you're providing some role play items there that you can look at besides the 5k of gold that you have on board.
Yeah, it can add to that sort of extra layer of stuff to sort of use to liven up the encounter a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Really cool.
I never would have thought about that. Pull sticks. Short one gets jettisoned out. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned something too. It's the responsibility of the pirate, to have good role play. Of course, you're going to have the, give money or die, kind of ones. But if you're going to be a good role player, I think it really does start with the pirate, but a lot of responsibilities put on the trader too, to roll along with it. I mean, there's many ways that you could get away or, just escape the situation, but that's what really makes it enjoyable is as the trader to put those thoughts aside and play along with it, have fun with it. And that was one
definitely. Of the obviously, just getting the money or die, as role play, it's fine if not sort of boring or generic. But yeah, in terms of the responsibility, it's got to be at both ways. That's sort of how that works. So if you start sort of receiving it, but you're just on a rush to get to the end of your route, which is, it could be you've got time limitations or restrictions. Maybe you got to go somewhere and do something in real life, which of course is fair enough. But yeah, there needs to be the give and take on both sides of the net for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
My favorite one, I got popped by a lane hacker. I was at the Pennsylvania jump gate on the New York side. I was flying into Trenton Outpost, but I stopped there at the gate, and a lane hacker had me yelling all sorts of propaganda and system chat and doing all these weird, funky things. And of course, my ship captain, I was on an Indy at the time. Ship captain was real nervous, of course, and he was messing things up. Lane hacker was getting impatient and threatening to hurt me. So, I kept screwing up the system chat and everything. And finally got through after spouting all the propaganda that the lane hacker wanted me to spout in system chat. Got through the trade lane to Manhattan, but instead of flying to Trenton, the ship flew straight. And in system chat, I'm typing the captain. He's freaking out, because the ship's not steering. He's lost control of the ship. Why is it steering straight to the planet? It's increasing speed. No, decrease speed. And suddenly it blew up. And so that's the role play is the corporation took remote control of the ship, made it crash into the planet because he was spouting all the anti-corporate stuff in system chat and stuff. And
That's awesome.
Lane hacker messaged me. He said, "I'm in tears right now, laughing so hard."
Oh, nice.
Those are really fun.
Yeah, definitely makes a better interaction when both sides are fully involved, not just wanting to get it over with.
Absolutely. So Zentor unfortunately is having some connection issues. So he's not really able to communicate at this moment, but he sent me a couple questions he wanted me to ask you. So kind of going back to the Liberty government conversation, he says, with Liberty being the most populous house, faction-wise, is LibGov sometimes arduous or annoying to reach decisions? So is there a lot of back and forth, or is it just pretty much like one consensus and just kind of push things through?
Yeah, I think for the most part, if not all of the time, we're all equally minded. We generally come up to the same conclusions as each other. So yeah, sort of seldom do we find ourselves at kind of cross swords, as it were, as far as decisions go. Because, like I say, obviously, we don't want to put players in a sort of position where, at our level, we're maybe preventing them from sort of finding their feet in Discovery, if it's a sort of pub or if it's a sort of ship they want to fly. Obviously, there's sort of exceptions as far as ships go. We're not going to approve generally a license for a, say, Rhineland battleship to frequently fly through Liberty, because in roleplay that just doesn't make sense.
Dude, I just wrote that up. Okay.
What's that?
I spent the last hour writing that up. Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, so what's the most outlandish, if you're allowed to say, what's the most outlandish thing that's kind of come across your desk, if you were?
Can't really say there's sort of anything outlandish, really. You might get sort of, like I say, you might occasionally get a request for a ship that wouldn't really or viably have a purpose to sort of frequent Liberty. Can't really give a specific example.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what about Liberty as a whole? Again, another Zentor question. He messaged me here. So just asking about like a niche or anything that you've seen within the Liberty that needs filled faction wise or play type wise. Is there anything needs filled, and then or do you think that sort of current organic growth there facilitates well enough? So should just kind of get filled naturally, or we're missing corporate factions or more pirate factions? Anything Liberty is missing right now?
I don't think so. With there's obviously the new Liberty Police group that seems to play the police as you would expect, which is really good to see, because it's been, I think, has it been two or 3 years since LPI, the former official Liberty Police faction, sort of went dark. So that's, of course, good to see that side of things filled. And then, we've got, deep space engineering. Is AWO still cutting about, Jeff?
They're on the decline, I think. I don't know how. We'll see what the new patch brings with Interspace, but yeah, I think they need a little more content before anybody's. It's just too easy to make an indie and go trade. Like we need a pull, something to pull people into factions again for Interspace. But yeah, they're not getting a lot of action right now.
Yeah.
So as Liberty Navy, then, can you see any use for interspace commerce role play in that regard?
From a Navy standpoint?
Yeah, like, is there anything interspace commerce can provide to Liberty Navy that?
This is where Zentor would be nice if he was in this conversation, because we talk about interspace and.
Oh my god!
Oh, there we go.
He's back.
That's all I had to say there. Let's talk about interspace and 5Ks. Let's bring that conversation up.
Interspace needs financial play. They need to be able to utilize smaller ships and more, especially since the dynamics surrounding POBs have grown so much, thanks to Eingar's quote. Like, POBs and Interspace need to have some really good mechanics. Like, DSC's been playing with stock market stuff, something I've long wanted to play with. I think that if Interspace was kind of pushed into using smaller ships, medium transports and smaller, and given more expansion to like a POB niche in finance, like stocks, that would be really, really, really awesome and unique.
Yeah, I would concur. I know Jeff mentioned that you can obviously just create an indie if you've got the sort of cash available, buy yourself a 5K, and that's you off to the races. You don't really need to sort of consider anything else apart from where you're going to pick up cargo and where you're going to sell it.
I see
so
his. Go ahead.
Go on.
Okay, for too long, I see in my eyes has always been like this very vanilla faction that anybody can use to just trade anywhere in the world, because like they're a financial institution, they're like known in all the capital houses, so they're friendly with all. They kind of like go over any current bullshit as far as RP, so they kind of are able to go anywhere. And for a long time, they've been overly abused I think in that regard.
Yeah, can I just intercede something here that I thought of the other day?
Yeah.
Me now starting this this freelancer faction with I'll just promote it here, like the Interstellar Transit, and being more freelancers. Like we were talking before about the neutrality that freelancers have, but with that neutrality comes the 3,600 cargo limit. And then I started thinking, it's like, wait a second, IC has this neutrality, and they've got 5Ks. Like,
why?
There's so many 5Ks around.
And if you read their card, there is no reason for them to be flying around in space truckers. They are a financial institution.
Yeah.
They are the ones that have funded Ajira's gate projects. They're the ones who have like funded like military expansion and research projects. They should be. They're insurance. They're finance. They're not space truckers. We need to give them something that actually reflects that.
The only caveat that I have to say, because I did some research into interspace commerce, because I was trying to think of something to get IC up and running somehow, is so in vanilla lore, it does state that that well of money is kind of drying up, so they are leaning more towards actually
logistics,
transporting goods themselves rather than just insuring everything. So so I guess So I guess a good question then to Doc would be is if you got a comm one day, aerospace commerce, it looks legit. It's not like just anyone messing around, but having your ships insured, how would you feel about that? Would it be considered, or any thought towards that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, you could even sort of expand that further. So 46th has a pub of our own. So yeah, if that sort of mechanic became available, yeah, obviously logically it makes sense to have kind of insurance on your ships, kind of cover the major damages from battles and engagements and whatnot. Sort of that can't be covered just by just having it touched up in Norfolk and what have you. So yeah, I think that would certainly be something that I would like to do for certain.
Yeah,
Okay. Interesting.
I've touched on this a couple of times. I think that one of two things or both could happen with IC. Um, One is they either produce some kind of insurance POB thing that could be carried around by logistics teams, and if they successfully basically complete a run, they get a bonus of some sort, and it goes away. The insurance policy that needs to be fleshed out more. Or what DSC has been practicing with internally within their faction, which I think would be interesting to play with on a larger scale, is like an actual kind of hub financial stock market. So teams, factions that are logged into their actual tags that transport goods, the more goods that they move or the more goods that they produce on their POBs is, signs of production. And with the production growth that happens, these stocks would go up. IC used to, back in the day, they would put out this report like every couple of months or whatever, and they would deem different areas of space as like different levels of security. Like it's safe to go through Coronado, or it's not safe to go through Coronado because of technocracy raids or something. So they would like rate different areas of space, and if those things could be tied together with production um, stats, then you could have like this kind of dynamic stock market going on that IC could manage, and that'd be interesting too. But that needs, of course, a lot of work as well.
Yeah, if you were raiding areas is more dangerous too. I imagine that that Navy roleplay could move in there to try to quell it down to a reasonable level, and then that would adjust the stats back to normal.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of some ideas, but
I'll get off my soapbox now.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
So,
I hate to turn this into an IC
yeah,
podcast, but
like a whole
definitely trying
podcast
because
on its own.
because so like right now, with the way that the economy's working, I think they've done a really good job of, and maybe this is why piracy is down, but incorporating PvP or PvE play, i.e., Navy or police bounty hunters with traders. So manufacturing code names, or I know it used to be back in the day, before the big patch, cloaking devices, things like that. But POBs are producing things that legitimately assist PvPers or people that fight with doing that fighting with guns and things like that. So it'd be really nice to see other things incorporated with that. So, whether it's 46, any other Navy fleet, or even some pirate ships, I see you can maybe dabble in a little bit of under the table dealings and stuff, but it'd be cool to see that aspect of play incorporated with, just like trading has been incorporated in with fighting, kind of see interspace commerce or that kind of role play intertwine with it.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, that would definitely be cool.
And then we can make LPI start charging taxes on trade lanes. Excuse me. Sorry.
I was kind of thinking that too. You get like a interspace commerce ship right in front of a jump gate where you go through and there's pirates on the other side, and they say, hey, if you give me 50,000 now, if you have to eject from your ship, I'll give you 100,000. So it's kind of like, you can make it through, great. I see just made 50 grand, but if not, we'll pay you back. Double.
Well, I mean, like I see it can, be more directly involved story-wise with some of the Gate Lane projects that go on, in areas that are seeing story expansion. Like right now Coronado is building trade lanes for Crater.
I tried this in 2 different sections. I don't want to get off. We're kind of getting off topic into IC here. We're supposed to be talking Navy, but I tried that in Coronado and in Rhineland, and I basically was told that we have to wait for story, so
Yeah.
it didn't move anywhere.
Huh.
But
Pinging, Jammy, we're pinging you.
yeah, that was a long time
Uh,
ago. Though. That was like
so one thing
So
I did want to ask Doctor before we run out of time for sure is, you know, since you are such a primary voice in LibGov and you oversee a lot of these sort of business requests and projects in Liberty, um, being as we've made you a guest here on the show, do we all get like a free pass in New York to build whatever we want now?
I mean,
yes.
you'd be required to follow
Ah,
process like everyone else, I'm
damn
sure.
it!
Oh,
Oh, we can't get a quid pro quo. Damn it!
no, there's no
No,
crater base
unfortunately
going
not.
up in New York anytime soon. There, Centaur.
per Liberty House law, this is rule number such and such.
We'll give you a mulligan.
I do gotta say, so Doc and I did a role play, and I think it went fairly well. It was dice roll. It was like dice roll, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but we role played something. And one of the bits he quoted the Liberty Navy policy, and I thought, man, that was so cool. Like that was real smooth. I don't even think I mentioned anything at the time, but I thought that was really cool. He just whipped it out, boom, right here. So the kind of last question I got for you, Doctor, as well. So Kusari and Liberty kind of seems like things are heating up a little bit. What are your thoughts of another potential house war? Do you want to see like a 46 going toe to toe with KNF in a full blown fisticuffs, or do you think it's better kind of like a Cold War thing where the intelligence factions are kind of at war, or just kind of like border fights here and there? What are your thoughts?
Watch out for the
Um,
hatchets.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, obviously, House Wars akin to that of, say, Kasari, Bretonia, Liberty Rhineland, and Gallia invading the towers in Bretonia and Kasari and whatnot. Yeah, it's always good for activity. The sort of massive scale fleet engagements are always fun. So of course I'll never kind of turn my nose up to that. But obviously from from a story standpoint, it's got to make sense.
Mhm.
It's you start at that smaller scale. Obviously like the ongoing event, trade event. Obviously the intel, so KOI and LSF can freely engage each other kind of wherever. So yeah, I think it's certainly dipping into the kind of not quite Cold War yet. I'm sure that's the sort of come, but yeah, certainly both sides of Galileo. You're on high alert and suspicious of the other house naturally. So yeah, it's always a good thing. Obviously, it has to make sense from a story standpoint, and yeah, there's amazing players on both sides of the fence. So yeah, it's certainly something to likely look forward to in the future, I'm sure. But yeah, that's as and when that sort of filters through.
Yeah, we got to see Emperor Takagi reigning over Manhattan. Yeah.
My dead body.
Come on, Wordy. Come on, Wordy.
Doc is like, not on my watch.
God shall pass.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I do like what you say, and again, kind of incorporating what we talked about before, and with what Zentor just said. I don't see Kusari owning Planet Manhattan. at least not
Nah.
anytime soon, regardless of what happens. So, maybe for anyone listening that's involved with the Kusari Liberty, there's an event going on currently, but any future events, have fun with it. It's a big story event. Enjoy it. We talk about once in a while back in the days, we just mentioned it, Rhineland versus Liberty, and kind of back in the day, and a lot of us, that was our first experiences with Discovery. And man, how I'd love to just go back and just spend a day, flying around back in 4.86 and or before, especially with Gallia coming in and attacking and stuff. And kind of like one of those things, you don't really realize what you have it until it's gone, and then you look back at it fondly. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
think,
everyone that's involved, just enjoy it.
Yeah,
Real quick, we do have a little word from legal. The podcast and all of its registered trademarks does endorse the legal takeover of Liberty by the Kusari government.
Oh, Doctor
Yeah.
just left. He's stormed. So, Doc, you're wanting to say something there?
Yeah, just to sort of touch back to what you're saying from looking back with rose tinted glasses. Obviously, we're all on the server to have fun and continue our discovery sort of journeys, as it were. Just think it's important to highlight. Obviously, from an in role play kind of viewpoint, of course, you're going up against your sworn enemies or whatnot, but just to remember, of course, we're all players, both sides of the fence, on opposing ends of the field, as it were, and yeah, just have fun, be respectful, and GGs and all that good stuff.
Nice.
Absolutely. Well, I like your use of the word journey to enjoy the journey. It's
Yeah.
not the destination; it's about the journey.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I did want to touch on again real quick. So Racer recently, or Stugar recently engaged in some RP with Doctor in the 46th, and it was kind of a unique situation that I don't think it's used that often, but I thought it was a really cool compliment for how it was handled. Did you want to touch on that real quick, Stugar, or do you want me to?
Yeah. So,
Just to like
yeah, I
explain to
don't.
people, how it like we don't have to go into the details, but the fact that you suggested
Yeah,
it and it was accepted.
yeah, because it's still a little bit of a secret, but yeah. So part of that is a kudos to Doctor for willing to do this, but I guess I'll share it. So I had a secret POB that was revealed, and I've always I kind of hinted to Doctor beforehand, just kind of letting him know that there might be a little bit of smuggler roleplay thrown his way. I wasn't gonna tell him where it was or what's all happening. Of course, it's kind of in the fog of war, but I basically built a secret POB. Well, it was discovered, um, and right away I messaged Doc, and I had a story written up, and it's just like I'm a I don't know if they're called game masters or dungeon masters or whatever, but like Dungeons and Dragons. So I had this little story written up of how things go, expecting like the Navy or other entities to actually board the station, take a look around. I had C Panda as a moderator. C Panda kind of filled the role as a dice roller. So of course I can't roll the dice. I'm a participant in this, and Doc can't roll it. I trust Doc, but just to avoid any future conversations, we needed a third party. So also kudos to C Panda for doing this as well. But we sat in a Discord chat and we went through.
While in game.
Well, no, just in Discord.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, so we fulfilled the role play based off of dice rolls. So I had things written out like 1 to 6, they don't see anything, and of course if they roll a 20, then they see everything. Everything is illuminated, that kind of thing.
Mm.
And story did not go anywhere near what I thought it would go,
Which is really cool.
which was really cool. We roll with it, introduce some new dice rolls, and Sea Panda filling his role as moderator. He did stop a couple times, so we kind of said, oh, hold on, okay, what's going on, and kind of clear anything up and stuff going on. But yeah, the result of that Discord roleplay directly influenced into the roleplay on the forum. So definitely kudos to you, Doc. Sounds like you enjoyed it, and I'm gonna definitely try to do a little bit more of that again with other people, other factions. Try to maybe see if that's something that we'll catch on with Discovery. Do a little bit of a random chance, dice
So,
roll kind of deal.
and I heard this completely third party through Stugard. He's been keeping me like apprised of the situation. I thought that it was really unique. Like the answers that were prepared are still in line with possible actual things that would happen. So it's not like completely ridiculous stuff. But I thought it was really kind of fun and unique to go that route. And the fact that, the doctor was able to facilitate that and kind of run with it. And I think that was really cool. So, I haven't been able to tell you this, but props for doing that.
Yeah, it was sort of something different. I mean, from a libgov viewpoint, we effectively had the base dead to rights, and could go through the usual mechanics and just siege it. In essence, just thought it'd be worth maybe just trying something different. Kind of see how it goes. Obviously, fortunately for Stugar this time around, it kind of went entirely his way. But yeah, sort of just playing, sort of going into it as William Hawthorne, who's the director of licensing in libgov, to sort of primarily handle that. After the fact, sorry, it was Secretary McKay, who's the Defence Secretary, of course, for Liberty, initially. Then, of course, passes it over, because at that stage he doesn't really need to be involved. Once it sort of transpires that the roleplay basically took a U-turn from how I think we both might have been expecting it, but yeah, again, that's the roll of the dice. So it was sort of
Literally
bit dynamic in that regard, and it just sort of keeps things kind of fresh. Of course, with that sort of thing, it falls to chance functionally. So yeah, what can you do? It's you take a sort of stab. I had fun. I know you had fun as well, Stuga. So
I did, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, kudos to Sea Panda for kind of overseeing it as we went through it. It was something different, and yeah, it was quite good.
So I think that leads me into so at the end of the episodes, I like to kind of give like my overall synopsis of what I think of our guest, or current activities going on by the guest, and just what I see in my feedback. And that's one thing I definitely see out of you, Doc, is your willingness to role play. You always seem to put role play first, which I think is always a plus, especially in a community that is a role play community.
And especially being right at the center of kind of Discovery's hub of activity down in New York and in Liberty.
Exactly. I don't know what kind of flack gets thrown your way, or if you're a big important figure in such a busy area, what kind of crap, if you will, gets thrown your way. But no, that's a good testament to you, your vision, your big picture thought, whatever it is that you want to fill in there. You're always role playing, or always thinking of ways to role play. And yeah, of course, there's time to fight, and there's time for PvE, and just kind of do some missions and have a beer with the buds, that kind of deal. But yeah, you always seem to have RP in mind, so that's really fun. So anyone listening that's looking to do any sort of role play with Liberty Navy, Doc's a really good guy. He understands that role play, there's two different sides to it. He's willing to play into your side a little bit if you're willing to play into his side a little bit. So big kudos to you, Doc.
Cheers.
So
Jeff, do you have anything else for us today?
I don't think well, actually, I had one question about with the new patch there, how the Navy, given that Zone 21 and the Earhart connection there, is there a lot of roleplay that the Navy does going actually into Earhart and the Uncharted's?
We did sort of initially, sort of less so kind of recently. Of course, anyone present in Earhart can treat it as ZOI, and in our case, kind of enforce liberty law. But yeah, we don't really venture in there sort of too much. We might on occasion, if we think we can either get or give a good interaction, but normally at that point it kind of ultimately generally just becomes either a fight or sort of interdiction. So we generally just kind of steer away from it.
Yeah,
as
I
it
was
were.
just curious because there's only so many factions that can actually get through the Alaska without getting completely blown up as soon as they enter the system. So,
Yeah, people still
Cool.
manage it through various means, but
yeah.
I won't give away what those methods are. But if you're
I
not
was just
seen,
gonna say,
you can't be shot.
I haven't figured out a way with the freighter yet, but I've got some other ships that have been able to sneak through, and including one corridor that I didn't realize was there. I kept almost flying straight into the planet a few times. The clouds clear right at the last minute, and the planet atmosphere is right in your face, and had a few jump scares. I think Zentor, we still got to make that trip out there.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's a good question. Yeah, because I never thought about that as far as Navy's role with controlling that, not only the gate but the corridors as well. So, which I guess, yeah, that is a good question. Real quick, yeah, I guess for personally me as well. So as a 46, I'm allowed to fly through Alaska as a patrol and flying around and stuff, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. How about Indies? Navy can fly in there too.
Yeah, in the police, LSF, some of the corporations can as well.
Like a
Let me just
Jira.
find those. Ajira, DSE, Universal. So yeah, the big ones without
Not
interstate.
AWES. We target those exclusively.
Yeah.
Cannon
Just-
fodder.
Yeah.
I think all Zentor piloted ships are granted exclusive authorization as well.
Must have missed that memo.
Oh, they got big targets on them.
Mackeson, though, I think the bribe worked, maybe sort of. Anyway, we could
Yeah,
edit
again,
that out,
just
right? No.
with that, of course, being handled through laws via the gov, you can, of course, if there is reasonable need and it's remotely warranted, such a thing could be handled with a license request or
Oh my
exemption.
God, he has to bring the apparatus of government into play.
What a freaking government official, man.
Jesus, pencil pusher over here.
So, can you be on the record of give some examples of some role plays that got through?
Why doesn't he write the application for you there, Racer?
Yeah.
Jesus. Copy paste.
Copy paste, yeah.
Fill in the blank.
So, all right. Well, yeah, that's all the questions for me. Mentor, you got anything?
I think that concludes my interrogations. Doctor, it's been a great time having you on and learning about your area of play and your history here. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks
Definitely, thank you.
for having me on. Appreciate it.
Before we head out, Doc, you got any last minute words, any plugs, anything?
Well, if anyone's sort of rocking a indie sort of navy or even police, and you're maybe looking at making that move over to the Liberty Navy, of course, pop an application in. Any questions, you can PM me on Discord or join the 46th Discord. And yeah, we've got a really good active member base and leadership, of course. Plenty of experience between a lot of us, and yeah, just stop on by and say hi.
Actually, that's one other real quick question. Is there also any discords, like community wise, that are like Liberty, like concentric, that people should know about? Or is it
Not
mostly like each
particularly.
faction?
I think the 46th has the most amount of players in it between the first fleet and fifth.
Okay,
So yeah, generally, if there's any sort of alerts for activity, if there's a sort of fight imminent, generally there's a public ping sort of put
cool.
out. So
Yeah, send
yeah,
me
stop on by.
an invite to 46 Discord too, and I can pop in with this with this episode.
Yeah, I'll grab you that now.
And we could drop the link as well for the application. So yeah, kind of like ditto to what Doctor says. Even if you're a new pilot or you're just nervous, maybe you just don't think you're up to snuff. 46 does a lot of PvE stuff as well. And I noticed that if you're a new player, there's a lot of guides or a lot of people that are around that love to answer questions regarding PvP, PvE, Liberty in general. If you have any sort of niche role play, people give their honest feedback to what they think. So if you're nervous at all, please don't be. 46 really good place to if you're a veteran to continue with your role play experience, or if you're new to find some new routes and start growing. So
Yeah, so we've taken on plenty of people sort of fresh to discovery and role play environments as a whole. So yeah, we've got the sort of time and patience to help you find your feet as an AV character and sort of help you develop your character in a naval setting.
Cool.
Nice.
'Cause,
all right.
yeah,
Well,
we all started somewhere.
absolutely. So
All right.
all
Well,
right. Well,
that concludes another episode of the podcast. We'll see you guys in space.
see y'all. Holla.
Have a good one.